Saturday primetime, presented by Wingstop. Pistons Timberwolves at 5:30 Eastern. ABC.
NBA Wednesday on ESPN Radio. It's an Eastern Conference showdown in Motown.
Jalen Johnson on the alley-oop.
Jalen Johnson and the Atlanta Hawks are fighting to escape the play-in tournament. They'll head to Detroit to face the Eastern Conference leading Pistons.
Nice Harris blows by Kuzma.
The Hawks at the Pistons. Coverage begins tomorrow at 6:30 Eastern with tip-off at 7 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on ESPN. Presented by Indeed. Evan, Canty, and Michelle are unsportsmanlike.
Everything that you can say about Aaron Judge, you can also in a lot of ways apply it to Bryce Harper, and you can absolutely apply it to Mike Trout. You have these guys who you think are going to be the one that is going to be the superstar that wins and wins consistently. And all of these guys haven't done it. All of those guys go into the what if category, and I think that's been detrimental to the game.
Unsportsmanlike. Weekday morning starting at 6 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on ESPN2.
Dayton's radio home for Buckeyes football. 1410 WING. Dayton's ESPN Radio. The Justin Kinner Show. Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Now, back to the Justin Kinner Show. Right here on ESPN Dayton. 1410 WING AM.
All right, everybody, welcome in. It's the Justin Kinner Show, Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 WING AM. Migraine and all, I'm going to give it my best today. It's a bad migraine today. I don't know how many of you get migraines. I get them not as often as I used to, but I've gotten them a lot lately. I think it's that whole no sleep thing. Your body kind of needs some sleep. I'm assuming that's what's up. But excited to be with you. We're going to kind of shift gears and talk a little bit more NFL today and talk Cincinnati Reds, of course. We've got plenty to get into there. Because the one thing about the Reds I want to get into is Andrew Abbott has had a horrific spring. He has not had a good spring at all. Now, he is the Reds opening day starter. I am a huge Andrew Abbott fan, but he has had a horrific spring. I also look at Matt McClain, who has had a phenomenal spring. And it's always that challenge of how much stock do you put into spring training? And you look at the phenomenal numbers that you got out of Matt McClain, obviously offensively. You look at the horrific pitching numbers that we've seen from the Reds opening day starter and Andrew Abbott, and you got to ask yourself, which one of those two, with the way that they've performed through spring, which one of those two is most likely to carry that over into the regular season? All right. I hope Matt McClain carries what he's been doing, and I hope Andrew Abbott just flips the switch. I don't know. I want to agree with people when they say things like, oh, you know what? It's just spring training. Who cares? It doesn't matter how well you hit in spring. It doesn't matter how poorly you pitch, of course, in spring training as well. So, look, I said we're going to get into it later. I changed my mind. I want to open up with it now. We'll get to the NFL in a moment. I want to talk about the Browns because they have a particular situation brewing where they have a big decision to make with that 6th overall pick. And I want to talk about that more. It involves a Buckeye, so we'll get to that more coming up around the corner. But I want to open up with this Reds topic. Again, I'm Justin Kinner. It's the Justin Kinner Show, 1410 ESPN Radio. It's fascinating to me because, like I said, I agree. I want to agree with a lot of people when they say, "Hey, you know what? It doesn't matter. It's spring training. It doesn't matter. If they play poorly, who cares?" And then if they play very well, then people say, well, you know what? Let's not get too excited. It's only spring training. Well, you got to have some kind of reaction. You can't just sit there and say that spring training doesn't matter whatsoever. Otherwise, why would these dudes be playing? Andrew Abbott in spring training has an ERA over 11. Andrew Abbott in spring training has pitched 17 innings. Andrew Abbott in 17 innings has given up 23 earned runs on 28 hits. He's walked 8 batters, and he has given up 6 home runs in 17 innings pitched. An ERA over 11. Andrew Abbott is the Reds opening day starter coming up this Thursday. And I don't know how to feel about that. And I don't know how you, as Reds fans, feel about that. We shouldn't feel good. I question those who are out there that are saying it's no big deal. I think it's a very big deal. I don't think that's something that you could just overlook by any means. So those are the horrific numbers for Andrew Abbott. Again, one more time, Andrew Abbott, 17 innings pitched. He's given up 23 earned runs on 28 hits. He's walked 8 batters, given up 6 home runs. He has struck out 22 batters, but he has an ERA over 11. Not a good spring. As far as Matt McClain goes offensively here in the 2026 spring training run, and the Red spring training run is not done, Matt McClain in 51 at-bats, okay? He has played 17 spring training games, 51 at-bats. He has 27 hits in 51 at-bats. He's hitting .529 in spring. He has 2 doubles, 1 triple. He's hit 7 home runs. He has 16 RBIs. He's drawn 5 walks, and he's only struck out 6 times. All right, in 17 games, he has 7 home runs. In 17 spring training games, he has 3 extra base hits. In 17 games played, he has 27 hits, and he scored 18 runs. I mean, that is a phenomenal spring training run. Marty Brenneman said that there's not a I heard him on with Tom Brenneman yesterday on 700 WLW. Marty said that there was not a player in baseball that has had a better month of March than Matt McClain. Now, who cares, right? Because it's just the month of March. I think it matters. I think it matters greatly. And the reason I'm bringing both of these numbers up is because one is phenomenal. One has been very, very poor. One was phenomenal after being really poor last year, and one was poor after being phenomenal last year. I mean, you have 2 guys that are like complete polar opposites of one another when you look at where they were at a year ago, or I should say a season ago, and where they are at right now, 1 month into the spring training run. I'm Justin Kinner. It's the Justin Kinner Show, 1410 ESPN Radio, 937-518-1410. Which of these 2 players is more likely to carry over what they're doing in March into April, into the regular season? And opening day is coming up technically here in March in just a few days on Thursday. But in all seriousness, which of these 2 players is more likely to carry over what they're doing right now in spring training into the regular season? Andrew Abbott, to me, has been one of my favorite Reds for a couple years now. You guys have known this. I say this on the show every day. To me, Andrew, when you look at Hunter Green, he's the face of the pitching staff. He is the ace. He's the face of the staff. He's the ace of the staff. He has the charisma. He has that it factor. He has a bum elbow. And he always has a bum elbow or a bum shoulder or a bum something. He's always on the IL. That's his problem. What I've loved about Andrew Abbott is his consistency, is his availability, is his ability to go out there and provide the Reds with just a consistent, reliable arm season in and season out. I thought he was the Reds' best pitcher last year, and I think that that's how the Reds feel, which is one reason why he is their opening day starter. You know, they could have gone the Nick Lodolo route. I know that he has a blister right now, but the Reds had announced that Andrew Abbott was going to be the Reds' opening day starter even before they knew about the injury to Nick Lodolo. So it's one of those where I don't know where this bad spring is coming from. I said yesterday, I'm not a big supporter of the Reds medical staff. I don't really trust them. Whether it's the medical staff or the Reds front office personnel, as far as how they handle these injuries and the decisions that are made, I want to trust Terry Francona. He's a Hall of Fame manager. You would think he would know how to manage these situations, but I just think there's way too many situations that are unfolding where we just don't understand truly what's going on. How does Hunter Green experience over the last 6 starts of his 2025 run, even into the playoffs against the Dodgers? He experienced sharp, nagging, stinging pains in his throwing elbow. And then the season ends and the Reds never made him go do anything about it. And then all of a sudden spring training comes around and now all of a sudden those pains return because he's throwing. And the Reds are sitting here now deciding to do something about it when you could have done something about it back in November, and he could have been kind of, getting back to in shape over November and December, January, and February, as opposed to doing it now when the Reds may not get him back until July at the earliest. I'm not a fan of that. I'm not a fan of how they've handled, Elly De La Cruz. I talked about it yesterday. I mean, Elly De La Cruz, I was hyping him up and praising him because I'm like, this kid just wants to play. He plays every day. He's reliable. He's out there. But then we were also criticizing his high strikeout numbers. We were criticizing the fact that he leads, that he's one of the league leaders in errors. Well, maybe some of those errors and some of those strikeout numbers and some of that month where he went without knocking the ball to the ballpark, maybe all of that was a result of him playing with that bad quad, which it sounds like that's what happened. He played last season with the bad quad. If you have a player with the bad quad, why are you I don't mind you playing him, especially, if he's capable of at least going out there. But every single day, you got to protect him from him. So I look at Andrew Abbott's numbers, and I'm really concerned because that's not Andrew Abbott numbers. I mean, to give up those numbers that he did, excuse me, while I put my glasses back on. I've never felt older than I do today, where I have to put my glasses on to see absolutely everything. Got to put my eyes on. But, I look at this. Andrew Abbott is not a guy that's going to give up 28 hits in 17 innings, but he has been in spring. He's not a guy that's going to give up 23 earned runs in 17 innings pitched, but he's been that way this spring. He's given up 6 home runs in 17 innings pitched. He has an ERA over 11. I don't know what to make of our guy, Andrew Abbott. I really am concerned about our guy, Andrew Abbott. And I'm really, really happy for our guy, Matt McClain. But I got to say, which of these two is more likely to carry over what they're doing this spring into the regular season? I guess I have to say, I guess it's more likely that we see Matt McClain carry over into the regular season what he's doing, because we've never seen Andrew Abbott this bad. It's not that unquestionable to look at Matt McClain's success this spring and say, man, no one thought that was going to be the case. No, we saw this Matt McClain. Matt McClain was phenomenal his rookie season. Matt McClain missed his entire second season in the league and then played the majority of last season banged up and was absolutely horrific. We were actually questioning why the Reds never made the decision to option him back down to Louisville at some point. That's how bad he was throughout the season. But I think that the Reds didn't option him last year because no matter how bad things got, they knew that that's truly not the player that he is. So I think that this is the player that they've expected him to be all along. So I think that it is more likely that we see Matt McClain take his offensive firepower into the regular season than it's likely that we see Andrew Abbott continue to pitch poorly once we get into the regular season. I'm not saying there's no examples out there. I'm sure that there is, but if you could think of one, let me know. 937-518-1410. Is there an example of a pitcher that has been as bad as Andrew Abbott has, that just flipped a switch and became great once the regular season gets here? I know it's spring training. I know it's preseason. I know it doesn't mean anything, but it has to mean something. Those numbers are not good. Matt McClain's numbers are phenomenal. Text into the show, 937-518-1410. I'll open up the phone lines. They're unblocked, so the phone lines are officially open. Which of these two players are you more confident in carrying these numbers into the regular season? And that sounds silly because I don't want to be confident that Andrew Abbott's going to be bad. But I'm confident Matt McClain will be the guy that's most likely to carry over his success into the regular season because we know Matt McClain is a hell of a player. Andrew Abbott, I'm concerned, especially because he's the Reds' opening day pitcher. But we know Andrew Abbott's a hell of a pitcher. We've never seen him pitch this poorly. I think it's more likely that we see that we see Matt McClain take his successful spring into the regular season than it is that we see Andrew Abbott take his poor spring into the regular season. We'll pick up with this when we come back. Let me know what you think. Reds opening day coming up 2 days from now. It's the Justin Kinner Show, Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
The Justin Kinner Show. Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
Our forecast mostly cloudy.
1410 Wing AM, Dayton's ESPN Radio, powered by.
Want to make the most of your tax refund? File with TurboTax on Intimate Credit Karma. They help you get your biggest refund, and then we help you do more with it. With a personalized plan designed to help you hit your money goals. Start filing today in the Credit Karma app.
As speech pathologists, it's our privilege to help students develop their communication skills. However, the increased caseloads and responsibilities began to negatively impact the students' experience. With the help of my association, I was able to communicate these concerns to our district leaders, which directly led to the hiring of more speech pathologists to serve our kids. Now they're benefiting from smaller group sizes and are able to reach their goals quicker. My name is Morgan Gomez, and I'm a proud member of the Springboro Education Association because strong unions make strong public schools for our students.
The Montgomery County Clerk of Courts Help Center brings the courthouse to the community with its weekly outreach programs to local churches, libraries, and community centers. We help you navigate the legal system. Find a location near you at courthouse2u.com. Brought to you by Montgomery County Clerk of Courts Mike Foley.
Why shop the Hustler Pro Sales event this March? It's your chance to get the equipment you need for the season and save. Buy select commercial mowers and save 20% or more with additional savings from Hustler's fleet program. Hustler mowers are known for their productivity, performance, and reliability. They're built to work as hard as you do. Sun up to sundown. Ready to upgrade your fleet? Visit Small Engine Service Pros on Route 235 in New Carlisle and shop the Hustler Pro Sales event today. Discount applies to select commercial mowers only. Offer valid 3/1 to 3/31/2026. Restrictions apply. See dealer for details.
My perfect day has sand, salt water, and friends. But my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis can take me out of the moment. Now I'm all in with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi. Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. With Skyrizi, most people saw 90% clearer skin, and many were even 100% plaque-free at 4 months. Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis. Visit Skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
Jackson Hewitt will do your taxes for $149 or less, no matter how complicated. So if you're a delivery driver, /handyman, /wedding DJ, you pay only $149 or less. We're talking to you, waitress.
Check, please.
/pet sitter, /influencer. Just $149 or less. Want your refund to work as hard as you? Hurry. Don't wait. File with Jackson Hewitt today. Limited time offer for new clients on federal returns. Participating locations only. Terms at jacksonhewitt.com/149.
How can you grow your business from idea to industry leader? With smart business buying tools and technology from Amazon Business. From fast, free shipping to in-depth buying insights and automated purchase approvals, we deliver everything you need. Go to amazonbusiness.com for support.
Save $10 on a pair of Rain-X Latitude wiper blades at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Our professional parts people will even install them for free.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Hey, Andy, you need to check out Gem City Water.
What? Another company selling bottled water?
Just the opposite. Gem City Water is a local company that offers affordable reverse osmosis systems and installs them for free. You can have pure, great-tasting water right from your own tap in your home or office. My water is tastier, healthier, and eco-friendly.
Okay, I probably should. I know I need to drink more water, and I'm so tired of buying bottled water. But how do I get info on Gem City Water?
Just go to gemcitywater.com. You'll be glad you did.
Are you ready to tackle this tax season alone? Well, you don't have to. Belmont Business Consultants and Tax Services, with its 30-plus years of experience, is here to help you with business and individual taxes, bookkeeping, and payroll, either in person, drop-off, or through their secure client portal. Belmont Business Consultants in Eaton and Dayton is standing by. Call them in Eaton at 937-472-3300 or in Dayton at 937-252-2217 or on the web at belmontbctxs.com.
The Justin Kinner Show, right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Now, back to the Justin Kinner Show, right here on ESPN Dayton, 1410 Wing AM.
The Justin Kinner Show, Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM, 937-518-1410, the number to call and jump in on the conversation. We're opening up the show today with Reds talk, of course. It's been fascinating to watch Matt McClain, to have his bounce back. I shouldn't say bounce back year. The year hasn't started, but to see the way he has bounced back this spring after how horrific he was a year ago, I think that's huge because, yes, the Reds did go out and get Eugenio Suarez. They did go and get a big bat. To complement the likes of an Ellie De La Cruz, right? But if you get a bounce back year from Matt McClain, that's almost as if you've added a bat to this lineup that they didn't have a year ago. That's what I'm excited about. And there's going to be a lot of potential there when you look at what this team could do, because we know how bad they were last season offensively, but a lot of that had to do with how bad, of course, the Reds were offensively up and down, thanks to Ellie being, injured with that quad. McClain not hitting the ball at all. I mean, they absolutely had no power whatsoever. So it's just one of those things where you look up and down that line. Sal Stewart comes on late, but if Sal Stewart, who, hit 5-6 home runs, whatever it was in the 1 month of the season that he played, if he's a power bat, if McClain is now a power bat, if Ellie gets a little of his power back, I mean, he still led the team in home runs last year, even with the injured the quad or whatever. So, and then you have Ellie De La Cruz. So if you take, Eugenio Suarez's power numbers, if you do what you if he does what you expect him to do with the bounce back year from Ellie, if he's healthy, from the power number, just the power perspective there, and then you look at Matt McClain and you look at Sal Stewart and you look up and down that line. I mean, my goodness. I think that the potential is there for this team to make quite a few major steps. But for them to do that, the pitching has to be well. And as good as the lineup or the guys offensively have looked 1 month into spring training, of course, the pitching, not so much. I mean, the problem is, as we're looking at this right now, I mean, when you talk about how poor, all right, Andrew Abbott has been, and that's who the Reds are going to have on the mound on opening day on Thursday, I'm a little concerned because I don't want to get too overhyped and excited for the numbers and the success that we're seeing from Matt McClain, and then sit there and say, well, numbers don't matter whenever a guy that we're looking at in Andrew Abbott isn't performing well. So which is it? That the poor performance from Andrew Abbott, it's no big deal because it's spring, or is it no big deal that Matt McClain's having success because it's spring? We can't say that poor performances and good performances don't matter, or can we? 937-518-1410. I threw this out, before going to break, and I'm picking up with it. Which of these two guys do you expect? Which of these guys do you expect to carry over more into the regular season? Which one of these guys is more likely to pick up where they leave off in spring? Is it more likely that Matt McClain continues to swing a hot bat and plays well to set the tone for 2026? Or is it more likely that Andrew Abbott continues on this horrific stretch where he just hasn't been able to get the ball across the plate without it basically being blasted out of the ballpark? 937-518-1410. Let's go to Inglewood. We have Justin in Inglewood. Justin, thanks for holding.
Yes, sir. Kind of a three-part question here regarding Abbott. I have not had a chance to watch too much spring training, but do you think his poor performance could possibly, is he working on any new pitches or building up his repertoire? Or do you think he's honestly just been figured out? Or do you think there's a hidden injury there that no one's talking about?
My concern is the injury part. I do like your point. Look, in spring, that's the time to kind of, experiment and tinker with some stuff that you maybe worked on in the off season, that, you're not going to be in any live game situations in the off season. This is the first time that you could take what you've worked with in the off season and try to, implement it into live game feels. So that could be it too. Yes, maybe that's the case. My concern's about the injury, just because we've never seen him pitch this poorly. And I also have no trust in the Reds as far as how they handle injuries, because I don't think they're very transparent, nor do they have to be. But my concern's the injury without any reporting that's on it out there.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with you. Thank you for taking my call, sir.
Anytime. Appreciate you. Take care. That was Justin in Inglewood. And look, I mean, as far as what do I think is going on with the Andrew Abbott, I'm hoping I'm wrong, but it could be injury. And that's clear speculation on my end. There's nothing out there to hint that is the case. But Andrew Abbott was so dang good last season. Why all of a sudden is this guy just hittable? How does he go from unhittable to just hittable? That is my problem with all of this. And this spring has just not been good for him whatsoever. And when you look at the numbers, again, sorry to repeat a lot of this stuff, but I want to just hammer this in because it's just been that bad as far as I'm concerned. But the fact that he's given up so many home runs, he has an ERA that is sitting, all right, an ERA that's sitting at 11. I mean, as an ERA at 11, that you can't do that if you're going to have a successful run here, as far as I'm concerned. And you continue to look up and down some of the struggles. He's, struck out 22 batters. That's great. But he's given up 28 hits in 17 innings. He's given up 23 earned runs in 17 innings. 6 home runs. We've never seen him struggle like this, even in his previous springs. So when people ask me, what do I think is the problem? I don't know. I mean, could he be tinkering with some new pitches? And maybe that's what. But as spring training has continued on, you might need to throw those pitches away and start, getting back into a groove especially because of the mental side of this game. You're the opening day starter, and maybe that's playing a role in this too. Andrew Abbott has always thrived as being a dominant third or fourth option in a rotation. And now with the blister to Nick Lodolo, with the huge injury to Hunter Green won't be back until July at the earliest. Now everyone, including me, is looking at Andrew Abbott saying, you're the guy. Some guys aren't meant to be the guys. Some guys aren't meant to be the ace of a staff. Some guys are just meant to be guys to go out there and just go with the flow and loosely pitch, and there's no pressure. I think there's pressure on Andrew Abbott now to be great. I think there's pressure on a lot of these guys. Last year, the Reds weren't expected to really do anything. I mean, as disappointed as we were in this team at times, it's not as if we truly expected them to go out and win the division. We didn't really expect them to go out and make the playoffs. They didn't do enough in the offseason for us to truly expect them to go out and do that. So I think it's a little different this year. The Reds spent some money. Wasn't a lot of money, but they spent some money. They've, beefed up that bullpen. They go get an Eugenio Suarez. It's year 2 with Terry Francona. And you heard Terry Francona right when spring training started. Terry Francona said that he told the guys, now's the time. Now is the time. It's time to go out there and win. This isn't us hoping that we can get this all together. Now is the time. So I think it could be an injury that we're not aware of. I think it could be maybe the pressure is getting to Andrew Abbott, knowing that he has to be the guy now. All right. I like Chase Burns, but he's young. He's not the guy in this rotation yet. I like Nick Lodolo. He's phenomenal. He's not reliable either. All right. Brady Singer, big Brady Singer fan, but he's a good veteran, stable presence in that rotation. He's not the guy. Andrew Abbott could be the guy, or maybe he can't. And that's what we're starting to see as some of this is unraveling as far as that goes. As far as some of these spring training numbers are concerned, I mean, you look at some of the guys that have had very good springs to this point as well. You look at Noelvi Marte, who's, in 54 at-bats, 13 hits and 54 at-bats. He scored 6 runs. He has 4 extra base hits, 4 doubles on the season, 4 home runs, 12 RBIs, 29 total bases. The strikeout number is a little high, 16 strikeouts in 19 games. That's going to be something to keep an eye on, especially for a young lineup like this. I think you're going to see a lot of strikeouts. That's the unfortunate part. We talked about the dominance of Matt McClain real quick. I talked about the 27 hits and 51 at-bats in 17 games. Talked about the fact that he has 16 RBIs. The number that I'm most impressed with, okay, he's drawn 5 walks, but he's only struck out 6 times. He's only struck out 6 times. I think that's something too, because this is going to be a lineup that I think we do see a lot of strikeouts, unfortunately. Ellie's going to strike out a lot. It looks like Noelvi Marte has he's aggressive at the plate, which works well for him. I think the one reason why he does have 4 home runs in the spring. All right. He has 13 hits on the spring. He does have 4 extra base hits this spring. He's aggressive at the plate. Maybe sometimes too aggressive until he gets more comfortable in the box, but we'll keep an eye on that. Sal Stewart. All right. He's a guy that I'm going to be keeping a big-time eye on because I expect a lot from him. I think he's going to be a big boost when it comes to the home run numbers with this team. Now, in 19 games played, 46 at-bats, to his credit, hitting .326, all right, in spring training. He's 15 of 46 at the plate. He has 4 doubles. He has 3 home runs. He has 8 RBIs, 28 total bases. He's drawn 11 walks. He's the only, actually, him and Dane Myers are the only Reds players to draw double-digit walks this spring, which to me is a great thing. Now, he struck out 8 times, but 8 times in 46 at-bats. He's very patient at the plate. For a guy that's a home run hitter, sometimes when you're a guy like him, okay, when I look at Sal Stewart, who's going to be a home run hitter for this team, when you're a guy that's known for your power, I usually expect you to have a little bit of a higher strikeout number because you're aggressive at the plate. And you're swinging for the fences more times than not. Sal Stewart's not just trying to put the ball in play. He's a guy that you could rely on to hit the ball out of the ballpark. So the fact that he does have 11 walks is he's not trying to mash every single pitch that comes his way out of the ballpark. He is smart. He sees the ball well. He's selective. He's drawn 11 walks throughout spring. I think that's the number that I'm most impressed with when it comes to him. As far as Ellie De La Cruz has played in 17 games. He's had 48 at-bats. 13 of 48, hitting .271 through spring. The problem is, once again, the strikeout numbers. Ellie De La Cruz, along with Tyler Stevenson, have 29 strikeouts between the two. 14 of those are Ellie De La Cruz's. Ellie has, drawn 5 walks. All right. But, he's driven in 12 runs, 12 RBIs on the spring. He has 2 home runs, 2 triples, 6 doubles. I mean, again, not bad. 271, couple home runs. All right. You look at the 6 extra base hits on the spring, but the 14 strikeouts are a concern as far as I'm concerned. What about you guys? 937-518-1410. You could text into the show as well. I see some calls coming in. I'm solo in the studio. I'll answer calls during the break. I just can't do it in the middle of a segment. So if you want to get your point in, text us at the same number you're calling and leave your name at the end so I can give you credit for the text. But 937-518-1410. The only complaint or concern I would have about Ellie is, once again, the 14 strikeouts as far as that goes. All right, the home run numbers. Matt McClain leads all Reds in spring training with 7 home runs. We talked about his hot spring, 18. The fact that he's 27-51 at the plate. He scored 18 runs, 2 doubles, a triple, 7 home runs, 16 RBIs, and he's only struck out 6 times. Will Benson and Reese Hines both tied for 5 home runs, tied for second most home runs with this Reds unit throughout spring. 5 home runs both between those two. Noelvi Marte and Blade with 4 apiece. And then, of course, you have Trevino with 3, Sal Stewart with 3, and Nathaniel Lowe, who made the roster, by the way, so he has 3. Now, if you're wondering why, again, the Reds have not been able to see much of Eugenio Suarez because the fact that he's, of course, been participating in the World Baseball Classic, but they do have him back. So that's something to keep an eye on. In fact, the lineup for today's spring training game, all right, here's the lineup. I haven't given – this is the first lineup to give out for this season. I'm kind of excited. But the lineup for today for the Cincinnati Reds spring training game, this is a lineup very similar to what you could probably expect to see on opening day, at least a good chunk of these guys. But TJ Friedel will get the start in center field and bat first. Matt McClain at second, batting second. Love to see that Matt McClain's back in the top half of the order, by the way, because remember how bad McClain was last year? Matt McClain was hitting near the bottom with Cabrian Hayes. All right, so McClain back into the spot that Tito wanted him in last year, hitting right there in the top third of the order. But TJ Friedel will get the start in center field and bat first. Matt McClain will bat second and start at second. Ellie De La Cruz will bat third and at short. Sal Stewart will bat cleanup and get the start at first base. Batting fifth, the designated hitter, Eugenio Suarez, back in the lineup. How about Spencer Steer in right field? Will bat sixth. In left field and batting seventh is Benson. Batting eighth and behind the plate tonight is Tyler Stevenson. And then, of course, batting ninth and at third base is Cabrian Hayes. We will get to see Burns on the mound or hear him on the mound today, if you will, for those listening on 1410 ESPN Radio. One more time, TJ Friedel, Matt McClain, Ellie De La Cruz, your 1, 2, and 3 hitters. 4, 5, and 6 belong to Stewart, Suarez, and Steer. And then 7, 8, 9, bottom third, Will Benson, Tyler Stevenson, and Cabrian Hayes. And you'll see Chase Burns on the mound making the start for the Reds in Milwaukee. So there you go. I'm Justin Kinner. It's the Justin Kinner Show. I appreciate those who were trying to call. I couldn't get to you guys at the moment. I'll get to you during this break, and then we'll get to your calls more when we come back. It's the Justin Kinner Show, Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
The Justin Kinner Show. Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Progressive knows that boat days can come with unexpected problems.
Oh, no, I dropped my lip balm in the water. I can't think of anything worse than the looming threat of potentially having chapped lips. It was ginger vanilla, too. My favorite flavor.
If a real problem comes along, your boat's protected 24/7 with Progressive, so you can keep worrying about boater problems. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates, not available in D.C.
CenterPoint Energy, Columbia Gas, Duke Energy, and Enbridge Gas want you to dig safely. It's easy to do, and it's the law. Contact Ohio 811 every time you dig.
Oh, my house needs some help. It needs a new roof, new windows, and siding if I can afford it. I just don't know who to call. Your house is updated and looks so nice. Who does your work?
Buckeye Home Services does all my work. Their prices are affordable and they do a great job. Call 586-6600 for a free estimate. Buckeye does roofing, siding, gutters, leaf guards, windows, doors, patio covers, even kitchens and baths.
Sounds like they're the ones to call. What's that number again?
Buckeye Home Services, 586-6600.
KTH Parts Industries in St. Paris is now hiring and has increased the hourly wage of $22.48. That's right. KTH is looking for elite production associates, including press operators, overhead crane operators, and forklift operators. Apply today. KTH offers excellent benefits, including medical, dental, and 401k. KTH is a short drive from Bellefonte, Troy, Piqua, and Urbana. Upgrade your career and be valued by a company that really cares about you. Apply now at kth.net, an equal opportunity employer.
Are you stuck staring at your W-2? Are tax refund worries holding you back? You probably have FOMO, the fear of messing up. The fix? Using TurboTax on Intuit Credit Karma. They find every credit and deduction to help you get every refund dollar you deserve, or your money back. It's time to overcome your fear of messing up and get your taxes done right. Start filing today in the Credit Karma app.
Let the good times roll. Polking Bowling Centers are your connection for family fun or a great time out with friends. Join us this summer for fun adult, youth, mixed, or travel leagues. Polking Bowling Centers have a program just for you. All full Summer League bowlers get a VIB pass and a chance to win cash and prizes. Ask about our Summer Pass where you can bowl for $1 a game. Limited days and times. And don't forget to ask about Kids Bowl free. Let the good times roll at Polking Lanes, Dayton, Polking Woodman Lanes, Kettering, and Polking Lanes South in Centerville.
At Fisher Investments, we may seem like other money managers, but we're different.
What makes you so different than the rest of us?
We ensure clients receive unparalleled service at every step of the relationship.
Tell me more.
Our investment counselors focus on service over sales, prioritizing clients' needs.
How do you make money?
We don't sell any commission-based products. We have a simple management fee based on the value of our client's portfolio. So we do better when our clients do better.
What about client portfolios?
We get to know each client, their finances, family, health, lifestyle, and more. And then we tailor a portfolio based on their specific goals and needs.
Your clients really come first then, huh?
Yes, we make them a top priority. Our goal is helping them achieve a comfortable retirement.
Wow, maybe we are different.
At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
Ready to free your team from time-consuming office tasks? Amazon Business empowers leaders with smart business buying tools, leaving time to focus on strategy and growth. Free up your teams and focus on your future at AmazonBusiness.com.
Jackson Hewitt has a great tax prep deal, $149 or less. Missing out is like ignoring a check engine light in your car. You'll regret it. Seriously, the price is only $149 or less, no matter how complicated. So don't wait. Like when you get a password expires today alert or you're shopping online and there's only one item left. It's like your taxes are in the cart. Just complete the purchase. Hurry. This deal for $149 or less is like your phone at 1%. It's about to power down. Limited time offer for new clients on federal returns. Participating locations only. Terms at jacksonhewitt.com/149.
You and your family are safer when strong leaders stand with law enforcement. That's why, as governor, Vivek Ramaswamy will partner with police to uphold our laws, keep dangerous criminals behind bars, and protect your family. Law enforcement knows Vivek has their back. That's why 65 Ohio sheriffs endorsed him, including Sheriff Stephen Lavorchek.
Safe streets don't just happen. They happen when criminals know tough leaders are in charge. Ohio law enforcement supports Vivek Ramaswamy because Vivek supports us. Vivek will empower police to arrest violent criminals quickly and decisively, putting trained resource officers in every school and restoring law and order statewide, so our families feel secure in our homes and communities. Vivek Ramaswamy backs the blue, so we've got his back for governor all the way.
Lower costs, bigger paychecks, better schools. Vivek Ramaswamy for governor.
Paid for by Vivek Ramaswamy and Rob McCauley for Ohio.
The Justin Kinner Show. Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Now, back to the Justin Kinner Show. Right here on ESPN Dayton, 1410 Wing AM.
Wrapping up our conversation on the Reds. Reds opening day coming up on Thursday, 4:10 the first pitch. 3:40 pregame coverage begins, and we'll have that for you all right here on Dayton's Radio, home of the Reds, 1410 ESPN Radio. Reds coming off of a playoff season last year. They definitely backdoored their way in. I know a lot of people try to say they didn't backdoor their way. I mean, when you lose a game that, when you could have won the final game of the regular season, which would have clinched a playoff spot, you lost that game and then only got in because the team and the Mets lost as well. So you backdoored your way in. That's fine. Who cares? You made the playoffs, so that's all that matters. But to give you an idea of kind of just how good of a spring that Matt McClain is having, Matt McClain's 7 home runs surpassed Adam Duvall, Chris Heisey, Brandon Phillips, Adam Dunn, and Edwin Encarnacion for the most homers by a Red in a single spring season since 2006. So it's not like, okay, a lot of, when you say that, you especially listen to some of those names. I mean, it's not like every year there's a Reds player that is, hitting the snot out of the ball the way that he is. His 52 total bases are second most by a Red in a single spring slate since 2006. Fewer than only Edwin Encarnacion back in 2006, of course. That's also the most by any major leaguer in a single spring training since the Yankees' Greg Bird and Jesus Aguilar for Milwaukee back in 2017. So Matt McClain's been phenomenal. I do think that, between what he has done and the struggles of Andrew Abbott, which of the two is most likely to take their struggles or their hot streak into the season? I think it's Matt McClain. I think that this isn't a fluke. I think that he's healthy. I think he's seeing the ball and he's, changed his approach at the plate. His plate discipline's there, only 6 strikeouts and 54 at bats. I'm excited to see what Matt McClain's going to be capable of doing coming up this season. I want to switch over to the NFL. I want to talk a little Cleveland Browns as we sit here right now. Because Cleveland, I think, has had a very good offseason. I think Cleveland has had actually a very, very good offseason. They didn't necessarily get the coach that I would have been a big fan of. I do think that they needed to make a change. So much was made about the Browns and Kevin Stefanski. And, Colin Cowherd and others ripped them and saying, see, look, you move on from them, and right away there's a line of people ready to take them. That proves that the Browns are a dysfunctional organization and made a dumb decision. Well, I'm sorry. The Baltimore Ravens moved on from Harbaugh, and everyone and their mother was contemplating, even good playoff teams with good coaches were contemplating firing their coach to go get Harbaugh. So does that make the Ravens a dysfunctional organization? Now, I'm not saying that the Browns aren't, but there are other ways to prove that the Browns are dysfunctional versus this particular decision. Clearly, you look at those report cards that came out, and so many of the Browns players were giving the coaching a D. They were not fans of Kevin Stefanski. They were not fans of his decision-making. They were not fans of him in the locker room. And that doesn't mean that his coaching tenure was not a success in Cleveland. It absolutely was. I was just a firm believer of, if he would have been back in 2026, I would have been fine with it. But had the Browns moved on from him in 2026, I'd have been fine with that as well. And it sounds like it was time to move on. They go get Todd Monken, the offensive coordinator from the Ravens. I don't know if that was the best hire or not, but he's kind of grown on me the more interviews that I've heard and just kind of heard his approach and just seeing the direction that they want to go in. I don't think it's that bad. We knew that the Browns really had to focus in on addressing that offensive line. All right, they had to go in there and they had to address that defensive line, or that offensive line, because it was one of the worst offensive lines in the NFL last season. All right, and so the fact that they took the time that they did to go in there and get that O-line fixed up, I think was big time, because of the main reason of, okay, no matter who, you could talk about who's going to be the quarterback, it doesn't matter who's going to be the quarterback. If you don't have a good offensive line, whoever's standing behind there is going to get destroyed. All right. They acquired the tackle, and Titus Howard from Houston. All right. They did that in exchange for a 2026 fifth-round pick, which they got from Las Vegas last year. Obviously, they go get Zion Johnson. They checked off a few boxes here and got that O-line. They made some trades, and they got all that stuff figured out up front. I think that the Browns are going to be just fine. I think they're going to be just fine as far as that's concerned up front. All right. I really like the running game that they had last year. I still think it's something that they could address and maybe add another running back to that room. But Quinshon Judkins, before the injury, was the best rookie running back in the NFL last year. And I was willing to admit I didn't like them getting him. I wanted them to get Travion Henderson. They clearly got the right guy. They got the best guy for the job. And, I'm excited to see what Quinshon Judkins can do in year 2. The guy's a freak athlete, and I think he's going to be fine. But I was taking a look, when you look at what the Browns' needs were heading into the offseason, it was all about that offensive line, and it was all about pass catchers. It was all about pass catchers. It was all about getting guys that can go out there and make plays, because the Browns had one of the worst weaponry, weapons units in the entire NFL. There's a reason that Joe Flacco looked like he should have retired in the first month of the season last year. It looked like he had nothing left. He looked like a horrible quarterback. Then all of a sudden he goes to Cincinnati where he had weapons, and all of a sudden looks like he's an MVP candidate. You just need weapons. That's why everyone out there that is saying Shedeur Sanders, that he's not the answer. I don't know if he is the answer, but you don't know that he's not. Right? Like we saw it. Joe Flacco had weapons or did not have weapons. He looked terrific. He goes to Cincinnati with weapons. He looked phenomenal. I'm not saying that Shedeur will look phenomenal, but you don't know unless you give him some weapons to work with. So it puts the Browns in a situation where they did not address any of the pass catcher situations, through free agency thus far. And there's really not a whole lot of good weapons out there anyways. And I think if they do attack the wide receiver position, it'll probably be through a trade. An A.J. Brown from the Eagles, if the Eagles ever decide to kind of pull the trigger on that type of deal. But mock drafts are coming out. ESPN's latest mock draft with this one has Field Yates putting out his mock draft. So that's the most recent one that was put out. And at number 6, the Browns have a decision to make. Do you go offensive line? Do you go with the tackle? Do you go with the guard? Like, which direction do you go in? Do you go wide receiver route? Do you go get the big guy, the Magoa, I can't even pronounce his name, but the big guy from Miami that everyone says is the best offensive lineman in this draft? Do you go him at number 6? All right. Do you get a fat guy up front? Do you get the tackle from Georgia? All right. Do you go, there's so many options. You have to make sure you beef up that offensive line. But because the Browns have made no effort to address their pass catching situation, it seems like the favorite at number 6 is Carnell Tate. The Browns' most obvious needs, are at wide receiver and offensive tackle. All right. They've made plenty of new additions. All right. And, I like the Monroe Freeling kid from Georgia to go there to fill that left tackle need that the Browns have, of course. But Tate Martell is, Tate Martell, sorry. Jesus. I don't know why I said that name again. Me and Kev always make fun of that name. But Carnell Tate, Carnell Tate is the number 1 wide receiver in this draft. But here's the thing to consider if you're the Browns. I would love Carnell Tate in Cleveland. I just don't know if I love taking Carnell Tate at 6. I wasn't a fan of the Bengals going Jamar Chase that high in the draft years ago because you just don't go that high on a wide receiver unless you are 1 billion% sure that he is going to be your number 1. Well, the Bengals were very confident, and the Bengals were right, and I was wrong. I think Jamar Chase has panned out to be pretty good if you're going to take a wide receiver in the top 5. As far as the Browns are concerned, I know this is the 6th pick, but I think that when you look at Carnell Tate and you look at him as a wide receiver, I think he's a phenomenal wide receiver, but is he a number 1 wide receiver? If you take Carnell Tate at number 6, he needs to be your number 1 wide receiver. And I don't mean, by default, he's their number 1 wide receiver. He needs to be a number 1 wide receiver. He needs to be what we saw from Jamar Chase's rookie year. He needs to be a dominant pass catcher the second he arrives in Cleveland. Because if you just used your number 6 overall pick to draft a wide receiver that is talented enough to be your number 2, I think that's a waste of a draft pick. I think that the Browns have to be careful here because even though you need a wide receiver and you need an offensive lineman, the Browns could be in position with 2 picks here in the first round where I would go best player available with this number 6 pick. As much as I would love Carnell Tate in Cleveland, and there's a good chance that could be the case, I'll be happy with it. I just don't know if that's the smart play or not. As crazy as this sounds, if I'm Cleveland and Caleb Downs is available at 6, you need pass catchers. I get that. But if Caleb Downs is there at 6, I'm not against Cleveland going Caleb Downs at 6. That defense is legit, but that defense is getting expensive. You're going to have to move on from some pieces. And you're going to have some playmakers. You might have to move on from a playmaker at one position and have to heavily rely and overcompensate at another position, and that could be Caleb Downs, at safety. So I'm a big Caleb Downs, supporter right there when it comes to this. If the Browns decided to go that route, I'm fine with it. Carnell Tate, he has to be a legitimate number 1 wide receiver if you take him at number 6. Oh, the Browns need a wide receiver. He's the best wide receiver in the draft. I get he's the best wide receiver in the draft, but is he a number 1 wide receiver? Just because you're the best wide receiver in the draft doesn't mean that you're checking off all the boxes. Does Carnell Tate, does he check off all those boxes? That's what I want to know. All right, that's going to be the big question, and that's why I'm concerned about Carnell Tate at number 6 if you're Cleveland. Tate is rated 4 spots higher than Freeling in these rankings. If they want to go that offensive lineman route, Tate averaged 17 yards per catch in 2025 and had just 1 drop. The problem is Carnell Tate was not even the number 1 wide receiver with the Buckeyes. And Cleveland, who really needs a wide receiver, you're going to go get a guy that is going to be heavily covered. Carnell Tate wasn't heavily covered, and he was heavily covered, but he wasn't heavily covered because he was never the number 1 true option that opposing defenses were trying to take away in that Buckeye offensive scheme. In Cleveland, if you draft him to be your number 1 and he is your number 1, he will automatically be the number 1 target that defenses look to take out. And is he going to be able to carry the load in that particular situation? He's versatile. He can stretch the field. He'd be great for Todd Monken's offense if he pans out to be that. He had 875 receiving yards and 10 touchdowns last season. No Browns receiver had over 650 yards, nor 2 touchdowns last year at all. But Justin, if you get Carnell Tate, he'd be your best wide receiver right away. Just because he would be their best wide receiver doesn't mean that he would be the best wide receiver for the Browns. I don't know what the Browns do, though, because if you don't go Carnell Tate, there's other options in the draft. You act like the only place to get a wide receiver is with the six overall pick. But, we just talked about how dominant and how elite Quinshon Judkins was. What if Jeremiah Love is there at 6? You need a lot of help offensively. You need a lot of firepower offensively. Can you imagine a 1-2 punch of having a Jeremiah Love and a Quinshon Judkins in Cleveland? I don't think you should go that route, but if that player is available, I think that Jeremiah Love is a better running back than Carnell Tate is a wide receiver, and Carnell Tate's a hell of a wide receiver. So these are the things the Browns have to ask themselves and question. That as far as that goes, and obviously they're going to question it. They are going to figure it out. But I'm worried about that pick at number 6. I'm worried about the Browns going wide receiver as far as that's concerned. What up, Treg? Treg says, I may be late, but do we actually think Tate is dropping to 6 with Lemon's Oscar performance at the Combine? I thought news stories suggested top 5. You look at who's in the top 5. There's a very good possibility. What could he go in the top 5? When you look at, the Raiders are going to go quarterback. All right, the Jets. I know the Jets moved on from their top wide receiver, but I think they have so many other pressing needs. I don't think you go wide receiver. The Jets aren't good enough for me to go wide receiver at 2. And I also do not think that Carnell Tate is good enough for the Jets to go at 2. Now, the Arizona Cardinals, they moved on. There's talks of them potentially moving on from Marvin Harrison Jr. They obviously never pulled the trigger on that. But a lot of mocks have Arvell Reese going to Arizona at number 3. The Cardinals are a bad team. They moved on from their quarterback. They're another one that I just don't see them being a team that needs the wide receiver at number 3. You look at Tennessee. They're a team that needs some help on defense. Obviously, they went quarterback last year. Maybe Tennessee does go the route of wide receiver at 4. Maybe I could see the Titans maybe kicking the tires there and going wide receiver at 4. Now, Sonny Styles, the linebacker from Ohio State, is mocked to go to Tennessee here. Caleb Downs is technically mocked to go number 5 overall to the New York Giants with that 5th overall pick. So they have, a lot of depth in that safety room as it is, but I could see the Giants going that route as well. But if Caleb Downs drops out of the top 5 and Cleveland's sitting there at 6, Caleb Downs, I don't know how you just let him go. I don't know how you take Carnell Tate over Caleb Downs. Caleb Downs, defense, safety, get it. You need a wide receiver, but I just don't think you force wide receiver at number 6. Because if Carnell Tate is who you take, he better be your number 1 receiver. And as I stated earlier, he better not just be your number 1 wide receiver. He needs to be a number 1 wide receiver because the Browns have tried to make guys their number 1 wide receiver that aren't number 1 wide receivers. And that's where I'm at as far as Carnell Tate is concerned. If I'm Cleveland, you got to make sure if you're going to take him, he better be the guy. He better be the guy. because they're Jerry Jeudy is their number. And for example, to give you a little bit of an example here, people say, well, if you get Carnell Tate, he's your number one wide receiver. Yeah, he's their number one wide receiver, but is he a number one wide receiver? Because right now, Jerry Jeudy, who I'm not a fan of after last year, but I really liked his first year in Cleveland, Jerry Jeudy is the Cleveland Browns' number one wide receiver. The problem with that is he's not a number one wide receiver. So sure, Carnell Tate could be their number one wide receiver. I just don't think he's a number one wide receiver in the NFL. That would be my concern. And that's why I'm hesitant to say that I want Cleveland to go all in on taking him at number 6. Continuing to go down this list, other things too to consider when it comes to the Buckeyes, by the way. I mean, this mock draft right here, I mean, when you look at the fact that Arvell Reese going number 3 overall to the Cardinals, Sonny Styles, linebacker, going to the Titans, according to this mock draft on ESPN right here. Caleb Downs. I mean, picks 3, 4, and 5, and potentially 6. You can have 4 straight Buckeyes taken. In this mock draft right here, you have 4 straight Buckeyes taken, starting at number 3 with Arvell Reese going to the Cardinals, Sonny Styles going to the Titans, Caleb Downs going to the Giants, and potentially Carnell Tate going to the Browns. I mean, that's an impressive run right there. Now, it's one thing to have, 4 players taken in the top 10, but to have 4 consecutive players taken in the top 6, that's pretty damn impressive. According to Field Yates in his latest mock draft, he handled the ESPN's latest mock draft. Mansour Delane, again, the cornerback from LSU, he has going number 10 to Cincinnati. The Bengals have done a good. The Bengals have had a weird offseason. The Bengals have had a good, bad offseason. I think that they did a bad job managing the money. They took the 2 highest cap hit players in free agency. When you look at the 2 players that they added, or when you look at the 2 players signed in free agency that are the 2 biggest cap hits, the Bengals took both of them because they didn't structure the contracts correctly. They don't know how to slot these contracts. They've always been poor at this, and that's their problem. So they've done a bad job as far as that goes because they've, taken money off the table that they didn't have to get some of these deals done. But overall, the guys that they went and got, I think, have made the Bengals better. So I think it's a good offseason. It's a bad offseason. I don't think they've done themselves any favors when it comes to the cap, but they've got 3 impact players that come in and automatically make them better than what they were a year ago. So not bad as far as that's concerned. Continuing to go down this list of any pick of, interest, Cleveland obviously does have another pick at number 24. And they have, of course, the Browns taken, Caleb Lomnu, the offensive tackle out of Utah, at number 24. So we'll see what ends up happening. Ty Simpson going in the first round, according to this mock draft, to number 20, at number 26 to the Cardinals. There's a lot coming out today about, is Ty Simpson the number 1 quarterback in this draft class? Everyone is just assuming that Fernando Mendoza is going number 1, and it's probably because he is. But it is kind of crazy that there's a lot coming out that, hey, you know what? Fernando Mendoza may not be the number 1 quarterback in this draft. Who knows? All right. It's the Justin Kinner Show, Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. We'll be right back.
The Justin Kinner Show. Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
It's game time with Hoops and Hops at Milano's. The hoop action will be hot and the hops will be flowing with our ice-cold all-star beer selection. You gotta make Milano's Pizza Subs and Taps your home court for all the tournament games. MilanoSubs.com.
It's time to say goodnight to that check engine light with the free AutoZone Fix Finder service. It'll help troubleshoot the likely cause of your light for free. Restrictions apply. Get in the zone, AutoZone.
ESPN is now the home of MLB.tv. If you have the ESPN Unlimited plan, you'll get a $15 discount on the 2026 seasonal MLB.tv package. And if you don't, no problem. When you sign up for MLB.tv, you'll receive a 1-month free trial of ESPN Unlimited. Cancel anytime without losing your MLB.tv access. Get in on the action at stream.espn.com/MLBTV.
ESPN Unlimited auto renews at $29.99 per month after free trial unless canceled. Blackouts and other terms apply.
Upgrade to a new quality bath remodel in less time with minimal inconvenience and for less money with Bath Creations in as little as 2 days. We do it right. There are a lot of others boasting about bath remodels these days. Well, Bath Creations expert craftsmanship and customer